Hey, hi everyone. My name is Dr. Carla Gilson, and I am the faculty director for Aggie Achieve. I'm also the founder of Aggie Achieve and an assistant professor of special education at Texas A&M University. We're really excited to be with you today. I'm joined by several other staff members. Dr. Mary Worley is our graduate assistant and assisting with program coordination, is going to be leading this open house with me. We also have Kelsey Gibson, our job developer, who will be coming in a little bit later to talk about employment. And then we have Jamie Berthold, who's our program coordinator, who will be monitoring the chat and answering your questions over the chat. If you have quick questions, that's the best way to ask a question. Otherwise, we will dedicate time at the end for question and answers that you might have about your specific student or family member, or any specific cases that you might want to ask us questions about that haven't been addressed in the presentation. All right. So we are recording, and this is going to be posted later on our YouTube channel. So as I mentioned earlier, please make sure that you are on mute to minimize the background noise that we have. And the best way to ask questions or to make comments is to use the chat feature. Okay, so we're going to do some introductions. We'll just use the chat for this, but it's always great to hear who you are, where people are coming from. So in the chat, please put your name, where you're coming from in Texas, or maybe even out of Texas, and what your role is. Are you an educator, prospective student, prospective family member, any other role that I haven't thought of? That really helps us just know how to best tailor this presentation. So I'll go ahead and give you a minute to do that. Okay, this is awesome. So I see we've got people from across Texas, as well as several from outside of Texas. We've got Washington State, California represented here, as well as Houston, Austin, Dallas. Lots of prospective students and their families, some educators, some people wearing multiple hats. That is very exciting. They're a California person. Very awesome. Connecticut, all right, East Coast representation. Julia, one of our Aggie Achieve students, is on. Awesome. That is so cool to see where you all are coming from. And although we usually like to host our open houses in person, there are a lot of benefits to doing it virtually, because we have people who are coming from all over and are able to join us from wherever they may be. So that is awesome. Thank you so much for being with us today. As we go through and talk about Aggie Achieve, you'll see a lot of pictures throughout this presentation. We really wanted you to see who our students are and get a snapshot of some of the awesome experiences that they have at Texas A&M. So as you can see from these pictures, we go into football games and get to interact with the core and yell leaders, two very important components of Texas A&M traditions. Our students are doing internships. They have a robust network of peer mentors called Aggie Teammates that we'll hear from later. And they are integrated into every single aspect of the Texas A&M campus community. So what we'll use our time for today, we'll talk through Aggie Achieve and all of the essential components of it. This is our admission season, so we will spend a lot of time talking about eligibility for student recruitment, who we're looking for, our admissions timeline, the long-term goals for Aggie Achieve, and then later on, you'll hear from some Aggie Achieve students as well as Aggie Achieve mates. And then at the end, we will have time for questions. Just some more pictures here. Our students get really cool opportunities. In the right corner, top right corner, is one of our graduate assistants and two of our students presenting at a conference earlier this summer. More football pictures and Midnight Yell, that was from Midnight Yell last week. Going to the grocery store. In the top left corner is our conference room inside our modules there, students working on projects together. So in every single aspect of our students' life, our students are involved, and I'm really excited for you to hear more about it later on. So Aggie Achieve launched in fall of 2019. We are currently in our third year, and it was designed with two equally important pillars of our mission. The first is to provide an inclusive and immersive college education. We pride ourselves in being a fully inclusive post-secondary education program. And what that means is that our students are fully integrated into all of campus life, and they live on campus, they take Texas A&M coursework, they have internships on and off campus, and they are considered Texas A&M students first and foremost. The second piece of that is our program is immersive. They are thrown into all components. Sometimes inclusion can look just like sitting on the sidelines of what's going on, with everyone else, whether it's in a classroom or in a recreation setting. But our students are considered, they have the status of being full members and students on campus, so they can have leadership positions. They can live on campus and enjoy all of the aspects of student life at Texas A&M. The second piece of our mission is focused on outcomes. Our program is designed to equip our students for integrated employment in the community when they graduate. We are a 4-year comprehensive transition program, and our end goal is to see college as a vehicle towards success. So although our students have a blast going to college and having the college experience, it is about so much more than that. Even from the very beginning, before they even start here as freshmen, we start talking about their outcomes. What do they want to do after graduation? And as you'll see in our eligibility criteria, that's a key part of the vision for Aggie Achieve, that our students, their families, everybody is on the same page with that shared vision for independent living and employment in the community. So we structure our program to meet these two pillars. The first 2 years are designed to introduce our students to college life. They spend the majority of their time on campus, living on campus. They have seminars and directed studies that are focused on independent living, career awareness, and self-determination. Beginning the spring of their freshman year, they start to have on-campus internship opportunities and then rotate to different job sites each semester thereafter. And then by the time they're juniors and seniors in their last 2 years, we shift our focus away from spending so much time on campus towards spending time at workplaces, ideally in the type of work settings that they want to have when they graduate. So each semester, as they rotate to different internship sites, they're also spending more and more time there, so that by the time they're juniors and seniors, they're working the equivalent to a part-time job in those locations. Aggie Achieve is part of the third cohort of TIPSID programs. TIPSID stands for Transition and Post-Secondary Programs for Students with Intellectual Disabilities. This is a federal grant from the U.S. Department of Education, and we are in our second year of this grant. It was awarded to us October of 2020, and we will have this funding until 2025. And here you'll see the goals that are specific to that grant. So in addition to our mission statement, we also have some specific goals that we want to focus on in the next several years. So our program is already in existence, but it's still pretty young, relatively speaking, compared to some other programs out there. So we're always looking to expand. We hope in the next several years to expand opportunities for our students in areas of inclusive learning, employment, independent living, and social opportunities. We're always making new connections on campus, in the community, around the state to do that. And Related to our second mission statement, we're focused on equipping our students for outcomes that foster a comprehensive and meaningful quality of life. So although we focus a lot on employment, employment is really just one piece of it. We're also actively preparing our students to be self-determined individuals and active members of their community as civic leaders. And then the other pieces of this grant help us focus on how we support other programs, both in Texas and beyond, to either to develop or to expand what they're already doing. So we have what we call the Aggie ACHIEVE model, and we work closely with some other institutions who are looking to develop new programs. And so we share a model with them. We provide technical assistance and support. So if you're somebody who's affiliated with another institution that is interested in learning more about the technical side of things, how did we get started, what kind of support did we need, then please contact us, because we definitely want to help you with that. And if you weren't here earlier, I'm in an airport, so I apologize for the background noise. The last part of our goal, TIPSA goal, is to engage representatives from other institutions. So this includes school districts as well as other institutions with or without programs. It includes nonprofit organizations, disability agencies, and we are currently in the process of co-leading a statewide alliance that's focused on inclusive education in Texas. It's called the Post-Secondary Education Alliance of Texas. And if you're interested in learning more about that, please contact me and I can provide more information. Another defining feature of Aggie Achieve is we are a comprehensive transition program. This is another designation from the U.S. Department of Education. And what this means is that we have federal oversight from the Department of Ed to make sure that our program is in alignment with the standard expectations for inclusive higher education, specifically for students with intellectual disabilities in Texas. We were the first in Texas to receive this designation, although we are certainly not the last. There are several others that have joined us in the last few months, so we're excited about that. And practically, what this means for our students is they are eligible for federal financial aid. So just like any other college student who is looking for federal aid, they can apply for the FAFSA and apply for Pell Grants, work study, and supplemental educational opportunity grants. So this is wonderful in making our program more accessible to students in Texas as well as beyond. Now I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Worley to talk through some of the defining features of Aggie Achieve.
Hi, all right. I'm not in an airport, so you don't get the fun background noises with me, but that's okay. So let's talk a little bit about the kind of the meat of the program. Like Dr. Gilson said, when she, when students, before they even start, we start figuring out what they want, what their end goals are, what are their outcomes for the program. We do this through person-centered planning. If you're not familiar with what person-centered planning is, we get to know the student. We ask them lots of questions. We also include family members and other important people from the student's life in this planning process, where we just kind of look and see what they want, what their goals are, and see how within Aggie Achieve, we can align their coursework and their activities and employment potentially to meet those goals. Okay, so yeah, thanks. With the coursework and grading, their courses that they take are mostly for 0 credit hours. The 0 credit hours are for the TAMU or the A&M courses. They're PAP courses, which I will explain kind of more about what these types of courses are a little bit later on. And the employment internship sites, students do get credit hours for. Unfortunately, the credit hours that students earn within this program do not transfer outside to other programs or other universities. And our students right now, we let them take 1 A&M course and 1 PAP course each semester. we don't have the opportunity or the capacity right now to do more than one. So right now we're capped at one. And then when they graduate, they're going to receive a certificate in interdisciplinary studies from the Texas A&M University. We go on to the next slide, please. Right. So like I said earlier, each student every semester enrolls in one A&M course, and that course is selected by the student, and we work with the professor to modify their syllabus and come up with an individual learning agreement for that student to take that course. What are the expectations for that student in that course for that semester? And we do that with the student and the course instructor, along with a staff member, to kind of facilitate those conversations. Throughout the course and in their classes, our students do receive services from Disability Services, and they'll get services from peer mentors or like note takers and other audiobooks, their textbooks on audio and stuff, and reading and writing helpers and facilitators along that, just kind of what other students who might meet the requirements to get some of these supports from the Office of Disability Resources. If they have access to it there, our students have access to it. We go to the next slide, please. Here's a couple of our academic classes. We do have one requirement for our students, is that they choose to take either the educational psychology or understanding special populations class. Students may take one or both, but that is the one class we do require. Outside of that, students are eligible to choose whatever courses they want. Now, these are just examples. These are small. This is just a short list. We also have classes like socio-horticulture or entomology, just kind of we're in the works of getting more access to more classes. So hopefully our list will be even longer for the fall for next year. But here's just a couple of class examples so you can get an idea of what we're doing. We go to the next slide, please. All right, our freshmen, and when I say our freshmen, the freshmen at Texas A&M University are required to take what is called the Hullabaloo U first year experience course. This is usually in the fall of their freshman year. And our Aggie Achieve students do participate in this class too. So within the freshman first semester, your student will be taking an A&M class, the Hullabaloo U class, and a PAP class. We also have Aggie Achieve seminars and directed studies. Now, these are courses, seminars, I think small group class, small class, and directed studies, think individual one-on-one classes. All right, but what we do is we will offer each semester course topics and seminars, or if students come to us and have individual topics or goals that they want to work on, we will create a class around that. And one of our staff will work with the students on that. Some examples of class topics include like sexuality, independent living, long-term career planning, social skills, like how to text, how to email, those kinds of things, self-advocacy, budgeting. So just kind of whatever the students want, or we see as a staff that the students could benefit from a topic in that. All right, PAP, what does that mean? That is our physical education class. Every semester, each student is required to sign up for a physical education class. The cool thing about our PAP courses are, unlike our A&M courses, which are a little bit limited, we can give the students access to the PAP course schedule and say, what class do you want? And we will work with the instructors and get our students in. So we have had some really, well, A&M offers some really unique PAP classes, quite frankly. We've got students right now in bowling. We've got someone doing paintball. We've got golf. We have strength training or running, all sorts of yoga, dance, Zumba. country western dance is an option. So all kinds of things, but that's one of the cool things in here is each student every semester gets a physical education class. Right. Our students are also very involved in student organizations. There are hundreds or thousands of student organizations on campus, just basically any topic, anything you might be interested in, there's an option for it. We have listed on the slide a couple of the organizations our students are currently involved in, like Read Rowdies or the Aggie Emeralds, Sports for Kids, the Aggie Guide Dogs and Service Dogs. There are some really cool things, and all of our students do have the opportunity and are very strongly encouraged to sign up and participate in student organizations. We like for them to participate in at least one or two each semester, just to further their social skills and getting them included. Right. So college, I know you guys might be wondering, what do their weeks look like, right? We're in college thinking like, I have class 2 or 3 days a week that meet for an hour. So what do we do with the rest of our time? I have just put in a screenshot of a sample for one of our students this semester. This is just one particular week within their semester. This is variable. Of course, the classes don't change, but the events change. You will see that the student has time scheduled with their Achieve mates that we talked about earlier, and we'll learn more about later. This particular student was going to the football game on Saturday. There was a barbecue. This is a very eventful day. You see their work is included, right? So this is just kind of what the schedule might look like. It'll be individualized for each student, of course. But this is a good idea so you can see, like, all right, your student will be busy. There will be engagement, right? So I think here I'll get to pass it on to Kelsey.
Howdy. So a little bit about employment. Our internships are available on campus and off campus in the community. The first 2 years of the program, starting in the spring semester, freshman year, students participate in on-campus internships. And when we're working on placing them in their internships, we take their interests into consideration. So some of the places might be like the dining halls, the rec. And during the last 2 years, students can participate in off-campus internships. And this is where we really begin to focus on what the student wants to do long-term. So we can provide them with some experiences once they leave Texas A&M and they can go into the field of their choice. So during the senior year of their program, the students work very closely with me. We work to identify relative and inclusive employment with what they want to do, either here in College Station or in their hometown. Next slide, please. So here are some of our work sites. We have some students who currently work at the hotel, transportation services, the 12th Man Foundation. We have our first off-campus internship site, I Heart Mac and Cheese. It's a great restaurant here in town. And then this top photo, the group photo, we actually have started having guest speakers come in to introduce the students to different employment types that they might have not thought about before. So in this photo, Thomas Campbell came. He's a photographer, so he taught us all about photography and the arts. So the next slide, please. So our current residential partnership is with White Creek Apartments. It is right across the street from our module, so it's pretty convenient. The students live in a 4-bedroom, 4-bath, fully furnished apartment, and with other Aggie Achieve students. And the first year students have at least one peer mentor in each unit. Next slide. And so here are just a couple photos of what the unit looks like.
All right, so now let's shift on over to the AchieveMates. Dr. Gilson, did you want to talk about that?
Yes, sorry about that. The jazz music is back, so enjoy that nice background noise here. So I'm just going to give you a very quick overview of AchieveMates, and then later on today, we've got some student leaders coming to talk more in depth about it. But the AchieveMates are one of the greatest parts of our program, and they provide a lot of the individualized support that each student receives. Aggie ACHIEVE are undergraduate or graduate students who serve as volunteers to support our students. They come from a variety of departments, majors, colleges across campus, and they serve in what's called a circle of support. So it's very different than like a Best Buddies type of organization where you have one-to-one pairing. Each of our students has a circle of support that helps them across a variety of domains. So we have students assisting with academics. They help with coursework. They might attend study hall with the students. They might catch them up on assignments. We have the lunch and dinner partners who go to eat meals with our students. And while they're there, they might also discuss healthy eating and social skills. We have wellness partners who engage in fun and fitness with our students, like going to workouts or going for a walk or encouraging safe exercise habits, somebody to go to the gym with. And then we have daily planners. These are AchieveMates who help our students in organizational skills. They might help with grocery shopping or making a grocery list. They might help with coming up with a budget, self-advocacy, checking email, kind of the, all of the things it takes to be a successful adult and college student. And then we also have members at large, and these are members who do not have a specific assigned role, but they are still in a student circle, and they get to just help out where it's needed, fill in if an AchieveMate can't make it, or just support the student in any other way. So this picture down here is actually from our first year when we only had 5 students, and you can see it's all color coordinated because every student had, this is the circle reveal day, so they got to learn about who was in their circle, and they were all wearing that color shirt. We did a scavenger hunt where they got to meet one another. And so as you can see, this is just for 5 students, and we had more than 100 AchieveMates just that year alone. Now that we have 19 students, we have about 150 AchieveMates, and we have an application process each year that students go through because it can be a competitive process. So it's a really cool component that I think provides a lot of support and helps establish those pathways to inclusion on campus for our students. So they will talk more about that later on today. Here are some more pictures of AchieveMates, more recent pictures. And you can see the mask wearing here. Even throughout COVID, our AchieveMates were so supportive and helpful of our students. I mean, that was one of the coolest things to see when in March of 2020, when we had to make that transition, like the rest of the world, to being online. Our students did awesome, much better than I was expecting they would. But our AchieveMates also just jumped in and said, even though we can't see each other in person, we're going to do online Zoom workout classes together, or we're going to, put me on FaceTime while you go for a walk and I'll support you. They still did their daily planning. They still did their check-ins with our students to make sure that through that very scary, uncertain time, that they were supported and still knew that they had a lot of friendships there. Okay, so I want to talk about FERPA. It's an important part of college. Regardless of what program you go to, they're going to talk about FERPA. And for those of you who currently have children in high school, FERPA really is something that sets us apart. And I think important thing to know about Aggie Achieve is coming into Aggie Achieve, students must have fully exited high school so they can no longer be served under IDEA. And a key component of that is that we encourage students to be their own self-advocates, to really take charge of their education in higher education. And that is a mindset we have, but it's also federal guidance. So the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act means that students who are enrolled in college are deemed to own their own educational records. And what this looks like practically is that if you're a parent, you can't call me and say, how did my son or daughter do on the quiz? Or did they sleep through class today, or did they go to class today? We can't tell you that. And as much as possible, we're going to funnel communication through the students themselves. So we might ask you, why don't you call your son and ask him? Or why don't you call your daughter and see if she went to class today? Because we can't really give you that information. Now, of course, there are exceptions to this. If there's like an emergency or a severe behavioral concern, then we will definitely communicate with parents. And you as parents are free to tell us as much as you want about your son or daughter. We might be able to help better support them, but we cannot give you that kind of day-to-day updates. It's just not manageable for the number of students you have. So we want to tell you about this now, even if you're a few years out from considering Aggie Achieve, because this is a transition. And this is just as much a transition for families as it is for students. So it's a mindset to start getting into as your son or daughter approaches that graduation period in high school. So here's a snapshot of our program staff. I am the faculty director, and my role really is about oversight. I oversee the program director and other staff. I help with fundraising, program evaluation, and I also oversee all of the research in Aggie Achieve. Currently, we are hiring for a program director. So this past semester, we've had staff play additional supportive roles, but starting in January, we'll have a new program director, and this person is going to be charged with overseeing all the key elements of the program, overseeing the staff. That person leads the admissions process and the student recruitment process. They are also charged with establishing new relationships on and off campus with faculty, with employers, and they also are the point of contact for parents and students if there are any issues that arise in the program. And then we have our program coordinator, Jamie, who is responsible for the day-to-day activities of the program. She also oversees the person-centered planning process. So she would be one of the first points of contact that you'd have after getting accepted into the program. You'd hear from Jamie. She would set up an interview with the new student and their family to learn about them even before they come on campus. So we start those relationships really early, and Jamie is the point of contact for having those semester check-ins, those person-centered planning meetings that Dr. Worley spoke of. And she is also the liaison between the program and the Aggie Teammates student organization. And then we have Kelsey, our job developer, and she is in charge of all employment-related aspects of Aggie Achieve, so connecting students to on-campus internships, establishing new work sites. She is especially a big role with students and families in the junior and senior year as they prepare for that, what is life after Aggie Achieve going to look like. So she would be the one, she'll start attending those PCP meetings and having a lot of conversations with students and families about what that's going to look like, so that, well, we don't want to have a whole nother transition that students have to go through after they leave the program. So Kelsey really helps in facilitating that for our students and their families. And then we have Dr. Donjin Kwan, who is our postdoctoral research associate, and he is related to the TIPSID grant, so he oversees the research and evaluation of Aggie Achieve. He serves as kind of an internal auditor for the Aggie Achieve program, managing all of our data collection systems, as well as the reporting that we do to the federal government. So he's a lot more behind the scenes, but equally important to the day-to-day integration of our staff and students. And then we have several graduate assistants. These are PhD students in special education who support our students across domains. Right now we have GAs in employment, academics, and independent living, and program coordination. And then we also have undergraduate students who have student worker staff positions. These are part-time, usually 5 to 10 hours a week. The first is residential mentors. These are the undergrad students who live with our first-year students in White Creek apartments. Sometimes they live with second and third-year students as well. And as Kelsey spoke about earlier, they they are seen as a peer, a role model. They're someone to help support independent living with our students. They also take training from residence life, so they're trained in safety measures as well to make sure that if there was to be a fire or some kind of emergency in the dorms, that they would be prepared to handle that. And then lastly, we have our job coaches. The job coaches are undergraduate students who support our students on the job in their internship sites. So usually how this works is they attend the first several weeks of shifts with all of our students to help them learn the job, provide that on-the-job support. And then depending on how quickly the student becomes independent in their job task, that person can then begin to fade support so that by the end of the semester, they're only going to check on them. They're not needed to be there in a full capacity. And we do plan on hiring more staff in the future. Every year we reassess our staffing needs based on how many students we have and what our funding availability is. So this is always a big question we get asked, and it's not my favorite thing to talk about, but I do want to be transparent that Aggie Achieve is expensive, and each fee on here has a purpose, and I'm going to walk through that here. So the first is the biggest dollar sign that I want to start with is the program fee. So our program does not receive any money from Texas A&M University or the state of Texas to run our program for operations. So that means that all of our staffing, our equipment, our space on campus, and long-term sustainability of the program comes from student fees. So the program fee, which is the largest fee on here, that is the money that goes directly to Aggie Achieve. Everything else on here goes to Texas A&M University. So the tuition, $891, that is specifically allocated based on the number of credit hour equivalents that our students take. So even though they might only be enrolled in 1 credit hour on paper, they are in the equivalent of, typically they are in the equivalent of 4 credit hours each semester. So it's factored based on that. And then these other fees, the University Advancement fee, Health Center fee, Rec Sports fee, Student Center fee, those are the same exact fees that any other Texas A&M undergraduate student pays. And it allows our students to access all of those areas on campus and to access facilities, libraries, IT, all of the other, additional supports that a college student pays. Please note these are per semester fees, and the fees are exactly the same if you live in Texas or if you live outside of Texas. So because we don't receive any money from the state of Texas, there's not actually an advantage to being a Texas resident. We're hoping to change that, and we're currently, working with some folks across the state to change that, but currently that is how it is. So my out-of-state people, the fees would be the same fees for you as well. And then the last fee is housing, and that goes directly to residence life. We don't interact with it at all. As Kelsey said, our students live in apartment-style dorms. These are beautiful, brand new dorms on the west side of campus, and they are fully equipped, fully furnished, and they have a kitchen and washer dryer. So they are expensive, but what is nice about them is they have really nice transferability to an apartment in the community. And then our students have the option of getting a meal plan as well if they would like to do that. Most of our students do have that. So as I mentioned, we don't receive any money from the university or the state. So prior to receiving the TIPSID grant, and what we rely on for long-term sustainability is private donations and student fees. So now that we do have some federal grant funding, a lot of our efforts in fundraising have focused on scholarships. And if your son or daughter is accepted to Aggie Achieve, then they will automatically be eligible for Aggie Achieve scholarships. However, that is a separate application process that is only open to accepted students, and you can reapply for scholarships every year. Right now, we have 7 different scholarships that can go up to $2,000. Some have even gotten $4,000 in scholarships depending on financial need. a lot of the scholarship awards are based on financial need. And the application is an online application that the student completes, and they submit a video as well that explains how they would use the funding. We also encourage you to look out for other scholarships. We work very closely with financial aid. So if there are scholarships out there, you're certainly welcome to apply for those. But just keep in mind that if you're a Texas resident, our students do not qualify for a lot of the other Texas benefits, such as like the veterans discount, the Hazelwood Act, or the foster care provisions. We don't, unfortunately, at this time, we're not eligible for this. However, that's something we're working on as well. And on this slide, we have the contact information for our development officers in the College of Education, Amy Hurley and Jody Ford. And this is their email addresses here. If you are interested in helping us fundraise, or if you have connections like to big companies who might have interest in fundraising, especially as we approach the end of the year when a lot of people are starting to think more philanthropically, then please reach out to them. And they are the ones who do a lot of the legwork traveling across the state to fundraise on our behalf. And they're working tirelessly to make our program more accessible and more affordable. So if you have any connections in that way, we'd love to talk with you more about that. And then we are really grateful for the support of the HEB Tournament of Champions. Prior to us receiving any money from anyone, we received money from the HEB Tournament of Champions to get our program started. And that is a special philanthropic wing of HEB, the HEB Foundation, which is, for those of you outside of Texas, is a big grocery store in Texas that has a lot of charitable backing behind it. And the Tournament of Champions specifically focuses on improving lives for people with disabilities. So that was a grant that we apply for every single year and have been successful with for several years. So we're really appreciative for their support. Okay, so now I'm going to talk through admissions and go through eligibility criteria, which I remember seeing from the chat earlier is why a lot of you are here. We at Aggie Achieve are looking to serve young adults who have completed high school. So that is a requirement. They must have completed high school by the time they start Aggie Achieve. And they must have received special education services under the diagnosis of intellectual disability, autism, or multiple disabilities. And I want to pause here and say that because of our federal funding, the federal funding is primarily focused on students with intellectual disability, with ID. So we do prioritize that when we're looking at admissions. That's not to say that the other disabilities listed here are no longer eligible, but we are prioritizing students with ID because that is really who our program is designed to serve. We do not have an age requirement. Our approximate ages is that students are between 18 and 27. They must be at least 18, and that is because they must be able to make decisions as their own guardian, which we'll talk more about later. But we don't have an upper age limit. However, Texas A&M is a very traditional university, so most of the undergraduate students on this campus are between the ages of 18 and 22, and our students live on campus. So we want to be mindful of that, and we want to mirror Texas A&M in every possible way. So Texas A&M doesn't have a specific age limit, but considering that our students do live on campus and it is a traditional student body, we are mindful of that and who we're accepting and whether or not we recommend that they live on campus. The second bullet here is super important. Our applicants, all of our students, must have their personal aspirations to attend college and obtain employment in the community. So it is great if the student wants to do that, or sorry, if the parents want the students to do that, but during the admissions process, we have specific interviews with the students where we ask them, what are your goals? Why do you want to come to college? And we need to hear from them that it is my dream to go to college. It is what I want to do for my life. And this is, in the picture here is one of our new students receiving his Aggie acceptance letter. And this is the same acceptance letter that any other Texas A&M student receives when they get accepted to the university. So it's really exciting. It's like comes in a big maroon package when our students get those in the mail, and we try to even keep it a surprise so that they don't find out via email or phone first. We want this to be how they find out about getting into Aggie Achieve. So we have a good relationship with our admissions office, even though Aggie Achieve handles all of the decision making and evaluation components of admissions. Once we have our students in mind, we call the admissions office and say, can you please send out these letters, these acceptance letters to our new cohort? And so they get that just like any other student. Okay, so I've talked through a couple of these already. The third requirement is that students have the ability to communicate in some way reliably with staff, faculty, and mentors. This does not have to be limited to verbal speech, although all of our current students do use verbal speech. But our students can also use a communication device to communicate, as long as they have a reliable device and a reliable method for doing so. They also must be able to live independently and take care of their daily functioning needs, daily living needs. So that includes toileting, hygiene, bathing, feeding, and medication. We have residential mentors, but these are undergraduate students. We make it very clear they are not personal care attendants. They are not there to help with these day-to-day type needs. All of our students must be able to live independently and take care of themselves. All of our students also must be able to demonstrate at least a third grade reading level in comprehension and fluency. This is something we look on for the application, and we also do a brief assessment of it during the interview process. The reason for this is because they are accessing college content. And although they have access to accommodations and modifications to that content, they are also navigating a huge college campus, and they need to be able to read road signs and applications, bus apps for how to get around on the bus, email communication, text message communication. There are so many additional functional literacy skills that are required to be a student that go beyond the academic literacy. So third grade is kind of what we've determined to be the threshold for successful communication and comprehension in this type of setting. They also must be able to function independently for a sustained period of time. And what that means is be able to regulate their own emotions, their own behaviors, and know when to be professional, when to be quiet, when to not have behavioral outbursts, as well as managing their own time effectively. Typical college classes are between an hour and 15 to an hour and a half. There are some longer classes, but most of the classes that our students take at the undergraduate level are about 60 to 90 minutes. And so they must be able to sit through a college class for that period of time. They also must be able to navigate campus independently, crossing busy streets independently, knowing how to do that safely, knowing how to, the bus is a huge method of transit, so knowing how to ride a bus, get on the proper bus, and just how to be mindful of what to do when they get lost or how to ask for help when they are in a new and challenging situation. They also must have basic mathematics understanding, so we're talking like really basic number sense. All of our students usually have the accommodation to use a calculator if it's needed for any kind of computation during a test or an assignment, but basic number sense of understanding money and time so that they know how to be successful in navigating day-to-day activities. And then, as I mentioned earlier, desire and motivation to attend this program as a method to achieve employment. The application and interview process is multi-layered and lengthy, and we want to see students active throughout that process. So if you've already filled out our application, you know it's long. It is long, and that's because we're making a 4-year investment in all of the students that we accept. And so we need to know all of the ins and outs, all of the background information about how to best support the students and how to really determine if this program is the right fit or not. And we want to see active participation from the applicant. So we have a lot of opportunities for students to provide videos. We have short answer essay questions that they can do on their application. And then when we get into the interview stages, we do interviews with the students. First and foremost, we do want to talk to the parents, but we don't typically need to talk to the parents until they get much further along in the process and they're invited to campus. So be mindful of that. And if your son or daughter is thinking about applying, just prepare them for that. Know that we are going to be communicating with them first and foremost, because they're the ones who are coming into our program and they're the ones we're making the investment in. So parents, although you might be eager to just jump in and do the whole application for them, that's not going to help them in the long run if they're not prepared for the interviews. Next, we ask that all of our students be able to demonstrate sufficient emotional and independent stability. This is kind of a tough one to evaluate, but really what we mean here is, again, that behavioral regulation, that our students can manage their own behavior. They understand right from wrong. They understand the impact of their behavior on other people. They also can handle change. There are a lot of changes, big and small, that happen in an everyday college setting. It's not as predictable as high school can be. And our current students have gone to college during a global pandemic. And so I think we're all aware of just what change can look like. I mean, our freshmen, during our first year, those freshmen went home for spring break, and many of them did not come back until August of that year. And that was a huge change. And so we needed to know that our students could handle that and handle the emotional toll that took on them, and understand the nature of change. Students must have their own proof of health insurance. There is some, they pay for the student health access fees, and student health provides a lot of basic things, but they do need to have health insurance on their application. They also, this is a big one, they must serve as their own sole legal guardian. If you currently have guardianship over your son or daughter, you can still apply, but if they are accepted under the contingency that guardianship be listed by the time that they start in Aggie Achieve. The reason for this is that college students are expected to make so many choices on a day-to-day basis, and that might be everything from which student organization do I want to join, to should I get in the car with my friends, with the teammates, to should I get a flu shot? And those things, those decisions, big and small, need to come from the students. And we work with parents. We have a process called supportive decision making that we fully support. And through that person-centered planning process, we always have parent input as part of that. But as much as possible, the students are the ones who are driving their education. And then I've mentioned this, but they must be able to administer their own medication, know when to take the medication. If they have any kind of food allergies or dietary needs, they also must be able to manage that. And then, of course, navigating campus safely, being able to cross streets and things like that. So as you're looking at this, before I hand it over to Dr. Worley, I just want to say, I use this as a way to prepare your son or daughter for college, for adulthood, for independent living. Even if you're looking at multiple programs, chances are these eligibility requirements are not going to be drastically different from program to program. So if you're thinking about how can I best prepare for this transition, even if I'm 4 or 5 years out, here are some things you can start doing now. And if you're an educator, here are some things you can start doing with your students to practice, getting them ready, have them practice crossing streets safely. Have them practice being able to navigate a large dynamic environment like a college campus. Have them practice making their own decisions, voicing their own concerns, whether it's, you know, going to the restaurant and ordering something off the menu by themselves, or something as big as, you know, making a decision about the type of job they want to have or the type of activity they want to do over the summer. So the more that you start simulating this now, the less scary it'll be when we get to this point and all of a sudden they have all of this independence. All right, so now I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Worley to talk through our admissions timeline.
All right, so here we are. We are November 12th. Currently, our application is live on our website. It will close December 1st at 11:59 p.m. At that point, we will want all the application materials submitted. This includes within the application, we're wanting a video essay. We're going to be asking for high school transcripts, a copy of an IEP, your latest educational eval. If you have a resume, we want the resume too. If there are any of the other additional supporting documents you would like to include, that's what we're going to want at that point in time. We are also going to want you to have paid the $30 application fee and have had at least 2 references submit something for you. We provide a link for that too. And I get a question often, can I be more than 2? Absolutely. We have a minimum requirement. We don't have a maximum requirement. But also be reasonable. We don't need 20 references. I mean, it would be awesome to hear how many people love and appreciate your applicant, think they want, would be awesome for Aggie Achieve. But really, I think if you're wanting to do more than 2, I wouldn't say more than 5, just to keep it meaningful, right? So that is all the materials we are going to be wanting from you by December 1st. I have started gathering materials for applications that have been submitted, and I have been sending emails to confirm what materials we have and what we do not have from you. So if you have submitted an application and are looking for something, some sort of confirmation, that will be coming. Once I get all the materials, you will also receive an email confirming that I have received all the materials. That being said, I want to be very clear. I am communicating via email with the applicant. So it's the applicant's email address that I'm going to be communicating with. Please, if your applicant is filling out the application independently, fabulous. I love that. Go ahead, double check that email. Make sure that's the correct email for your applicant, because that's where we will be communicating with them. Okay. Throughout the process, we do have an admissions committee. It is made up of people outside of the Aggie Achieve program that go through and help us anonymously evaluate the rubrics and help us make choices on who to invite for interviews and moving forward. We will be putting those, I'll have a timeline here a little bit later on for you to see, but we will be asking for interviews and all of that stuff will be occurring in the spring next semester. And once you get your application in and all the materials are received, you receive that email that says, yes, we've got it all. We are reviewing your application. Thank you so much. You will probably not hear from us again until about February when we reach back out. That gives the committees enough time to go through the applications and meaningfully make choices on who we should invite to interview. This question was asked in the chat earlier, but I'll go ahead and address it now. Our anticipated cohort size is 7 to 10. We have a range, we will take up to 10, but if we only have 7 or 8 applicants that really seem like a good fit, we will limit it to 7 or 8. So we have our range, but we're not just taking anyone just to take them. We do want to make sure that our applicants are a good fit for the program and Texas A&M University. Go on to the next slide. Here's our timeline. Okay, so I've laid out here again All of the application materials are due December 1st. In February, we will start our first rounds of interviews. We will be doing Zoom interviews first, and then we will notify you based on those continuing on, based on after the Zoom interviews, we'll notify you of a face-to-face interview. We'll have a face-to-face interview with you in early March, and we will be interviewing the applicants and their families at that point. In mid-March, you will receive some notification of acceptance, and well, we will send out to the admissions office who we will be accepting, and then the admissions office will be then sending out the official letters. Like we saw that picture of our student a little bit earlier in the presentation with the big maroon thing. That's what they'll get to, and it comes from the admissions office. So we touched on a little bit of this earlier with the future, kind of just talking about the scholarships and sustaining the program and stuff. Some of our future goals, so you are aware of kind of where we want to go with Aggie Achieve, is we are continuing, like Dr. Gilson said, to find endowed scholarships. We've got the funding to start the program. Now we're wanting to keep the funding going so we can provide the scholarships and get the costs down. We are going to be continuing to grow in staff and students with new hires coming soon. We will want our students fully immersed and included in the A&M campus. This is going to look like having more A&M classes to offer, getting additional student organizations connected with us, expanding some of those off-campus employment sites or on-campus employment sites too. And then also we want, as a program, to help expand just post-secondary opportunities for students and families in the state of Texas. It's important to remember that college might be great, but it's important to find a good fit for college. So while Texas A&M might not be a good fit for everybody, we want to help other universities and colleges start programs that would be a good fit. So those are all some future goals that we have for Aggie Achieve. We go on to the next slide. We work closely with Think College. Think College is our national coordinating center for post-secondary programs. And this is a site that if you are just getting started looking for colleges and opportunities, I would definitely encourage you to look into it. It can be a little overwhelming because there are so many good resources there. They have resources available for students, families, and educators or professionals. They also have a list of different programs offered. Will you go on to the next slide, please? Thanks. And you can see just in this screenshot, this is just a snapshot. The numbers in each of the states are the number of programs that are available for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities within that state. So you can see we've got, I think it's 288 programs across the country. That number is continuing to grow. And we are happy to be a part of it. And this is also just a really great resource that we want to share with you. So you have this at your fingertips as well. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about visiting the program. I think when you think about college, you think about college visits and stuff. And a lot of times I get asked if we can come and visit the campus. Absolutely. Right now, Aggie Achieve does not offer individualized tours. What we do is we have campus tours. So we encourage you to sign up and look at the campus tours. Those are facilitated by students and they go around and kind of give you a guidance on campus. The resident White Creek Apartments, keep wanting to say residential mentor. The White Creek Apartments also offer a student tour that you can go in. And so you can check out the living facilities, see what White Creek Apartments is, what it looks like. kind of check out their community center. These are going to be the best options for getting a feel for what it is like with Aggie Achieve. When we think about Aggie Achieve, our students are and the university, they are active, they are moving around campus, they are living in the apartments. So while this is not directly tours provided from Aggie Achieve, these are very meaningful tours and very informative for you and your student or your applicant to get a feel for what campus is like and what it would be like at Aggie Achieve. All right, I was talking fast so we would have plenty of time for questions. So we have, is our AchieveMate on by chance?
I'm here.
Hi, would you like to chat a little bit about AchieveMates?
Yeah. So my name's Maddie Farrell. I'm the president of Aggie Teammates this year. It's a real honor to get to work alongside the Achieve program and support these amazing students. I'm not sure what all the slides are, but I'll give y'all the rundown of Aggie Teammates. I just saw a question in the chat. So AchieveMates do go through an interview process and application process. Not everyone is accepted into the organization. We want to make sure that the people that we're accepting are going to be great AchieveMates and we'll keep our students. So yeah, so this is a picture of some of our circles that we have. So each student has an individualized circle of support full of different roles that help them with different things through their process as an Aggie Achieve student. And I believe there's more information about that on the next slide. Oh yeah, so this is just kind of a rundown of what Aggie Teammates is. So we're a student organization dedicated to serving the Texas A&M community by advocating for inclusion and acceptance through establishing one-on-one relationships with Aggie Achieve students. We can get it next slide. Yeah. So who are Aggie Teammates? Like I said, there is an application process, but all the Aggie Achieve students are part of Teammates. And then any Texas A&M undergraduates or graduate students are welcome to apply. And then they're selected through a competitive and selective application process. So as I was talking a little bit about earlier, the circle of support. So each student has a circle, each Achieve student has a circle with a planning partner, a wellness partner, lunch and dinner buddies, members at large, and academic mentors. So these fill different roles. So I'm actually Christian's planning partner. So we meet once a week for like 30 minutes to an hour, and I help him plan out his week or anything else that he needs help with kind of planning wise. And then these Achieve students also have wellness partners that focus on healthy habits, exercise, all that good stuff. Lunch and dinner buddies work on, eating healthy meals, going out to eat, and social skills. Members at large don't have a set meeting time. They're there for extra support for our Achieve students. And academic mentors also meet once a week and help study any academic habits, just encourage academic skills and studying. So all of these roles support our students in one way or another and just encourage our students to do the best they can at Texas A&M and through the Achieve program. I think there's another slide. Yeah, so what are the goals of Aggie Teammates? So our goals are to foster and advocate for a community of inclusion and acceptance on campus in all aspects of student life. We enact change in the lives of Texas A&M students through one-to-one mutually benefiting relationships, and we help advance and support the goals and the visions of the Achieve program through supplemental support and advocacy. So yeah, and then on the next slide, it just has my contact information and our website. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have now, or if you ever think about something, you can follow our social media, look at our website, all that, and there's probably information on there. I'm gonna look in the chat to see if there's any questions. Okay, I don't see any specific AchieveMates questions, but yeah. I can speak on behalf of AchieveMates that we all love getting to support the Achieve program. It's been one of my favorite parts of being at A&M, so yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you so much, Maddie.
Yeah, of course. Thank y'all for having me.
Maddie, are you going to be able to stay on for a few extra minutes if people do have questions?
Yeah, I can stay on for a few minutes.
Okay. And then our last guest, we also have a couple of Achieve students with us. We have Julia and Nicholas. So I'm going to give them each a couple minutes to introduce themselves. Julia, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Hey, Julia. So
Hi.
I know you've done this before, so Julia knows the spiel. So, please tell us your name, where you're from, what year you're in, what class you're taking.
Okay. My name is Julia Gott. I'm a sophomore at Texas A&M, and I'm taking I'm taking a Zumba class and a plant class this year, and it's very fun on campus, and I meet a lot of new friends, and um and I'm working at a job this year at transportation services with the buses.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Julia.
You're
What's your
welcome.
favorite part about Aggie Achieve?
Um, I I love all the Aggie teammates, and I love when we go out to go eat and go go exercise and um
Great. Okay. Thanks, Julia. All right.
Yeah.
So stay on. Some people might have some questions for you. And then we also have Nicholas Manning. Nicholas, are you there?
I am loud and clear.
All right. Hey. Okay. So same thing. Say your name, where you're from, what year you are, and what classes you're taking.
Okay. Hi, I'm Nicholas Manning. I'm a freshman this year. So classes I took this year for this semester, I took like they said earlier, a blue class. I don't even know if I said that right, but I took a golf class and a Texas barbecue. My goodness, they are so awesome. I think you should really try it. But I do want to say, for my next semester, I did take, call me crazy, but I took a ballet class, so I just wanted to give it a try. But my favorite thing about being part of here, I love going to football games. I love meeting my teammates every week, hanging out with them, catching up, see how they're doing.
I did not know you were taking ballet. That's awesome. I can't wait to hear how that goes. Very cool, Nicholas. So we have two of our students. We have a sophomore and a freshman here. So does anyone have any specific questions for them while they're here? Feel free to ask yourself, or you can chat. Okay, so someone asked, what has been the hardest part about going to live in a dorm? So Nicholas or Julia, you want to answer that one, or both?
I mean, sure.
Okay, what's been the hardest part about living in White Creek? Starting to live in White
maybe
Creek for the first time.
maybe doing the chores and keeping up with them um and keeping the place clean.
Okay, fair enough. What are some of the chores you have to do?
Like vacuuming, sweeping, doing the dishes and wipe down a bunch of things.
There was another question in the chat, a follow-up. Do you get reminders to do your chores?
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
When when you're in your first year, your mentor will remind you every week to tell you, hey, don't forget to do this. Don't forget to do this.
What are your hometowns?
Okay, that's
What are your hometowns, Nicholas and Julia?
Oh, my hometowns are San Benito, where Brownsville is. And yeah.
I'm from Abilene.
Do you all ever feel homesick?
First year I was like a little homesick, but the Aggie Achieve mates helped me feel better.
I kind of did when the school year first started, but I'm kind of used to it. You know, I got, like Julie just said, the teammates to keep us occupied.
Yeah, we are thankful for those Achieve mates.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
What's the food like?
Oh, the food is very good up here. They have pizza, they have a Chick-fil-A, they have a lot of things.
When y'all are at White Creek, do you just socialize with other people in Aggie Achieve, or do you socialize with just all A&M students and hang out with everybody?
Oh,
Wh- you can make new friends up here. You can socialize for um uh, people on campus or your roommates or um yeah.
So you
or
can,
fish camp. I still talk to some of the kids I met in fish camp.
Oh, fish camp.
so you can interact with the other students and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Someone asked you, how often did Julia and Nicholas meet up? Do you all meet up?
Um, we do around campus. Um, uh, when we when we have uh, w when potluck though, we hang out. Everybody hang out.
Oh
So
yeah, and study hall.
and study hall.
Thank you. Are there social
So you guys
programs?
mentioned potlucks. Can you talk about the potlucks? That's something new that we've added this year. Talk about that.
Oh yeah, the potluck. It's a thing that you cook a meal and you show it uh with all the Aggie everyone on all the Aggie teammates and all the Aggie Achieve.
Very nice.
Someone in the chat asked for our social media information, so I'm just putting it up here. The slide has all of our handles for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And Aggie Achievemates also has their own, which Maddie put in the chat. Definitely encourage you to follow us on social media and also follow our website. On our website, you could sign up for our monthly newsletter, and every monthly newsletter has like a different student spotlight featured as well. So they're a lot of fun.
Oh,
Jamie got a question about, was it hard to make it to class on time at first? How's the transportation?
Oh yes, it was. I got confused a lot in freshman year, and a little bit this year too. And transfer. I didn't know what transvocation is, so it had to show me what that is.
You know, it's a funny story. I was almost late for class this morning, but I still made it on time. So
Someone else asked, what is study hall like? Can you tell us what do you guys do in study hall?
we are.
Uh,
You
wh-
go ahead.
Go ahead, Nicholas.
Okay, go ahead, Nicholas.
Okay. I was gonna say, basically, whatever it would like for me, every Monday and Tuesday, I go to study hall. I just do my work, catching up, and then just hang around, have fun, play Uno with my friends.
What about you, Julia?
Same thing. I do my work, and do projects or do PowerPoints or do a lot of things.
We had
And
another
I'm sure
question.
Nicholas is only playing Uno if he's done with all of his work, right, Nicholas?
Yes.
So is anyone
So someone else, go ahead. Yeah.
So is anyone helping you make sure you remember to get all your assignments done?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Miss Showish or Miss what there's another lady who's helping us too.
Her name's
Millie,
Emmy. She's a tutorial.
Emmy, yeah.
Yeah, and don't forget about your Achievemates, right?
Oh
You'll
yeah.
have
yes.
academic partners, you'll have weekly planning partners and your organization partners, right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they're helping us too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
the best.
There's
They're
a
the
lot of
best.
support from a lot of different places.
And we also have one best president of that Achieve. Right, Maddie?
Oh yeah. Maddie.
Okay, someone asked a question that I want to make sure that we emphasize about registering for classes. Someone asked, can they choose from any course in the catalog? Unfortunately, no, not any class. We do have a list of approved classes for Aggie Achieve students to take, and our students can choose from that list. It is a growing list, but we're working on adding more and more classes to it each year. But at this point, we need to have approval from an instructor before we can offer a class to an Aggie Achieve student. And then from there, it needs to go into our curricular approval system where the modified syllabus is approved so that the students can take it for 0 credit. Okay, I see some general questions. I just want to see if there's any more questions for Julia and Nicholas. Dr. Worley, did you see any we haven't addressed yet?
I did not. We've covered them all.
Okay.
Thank you, Julia and Nicholas.
Okay.
Thank you,
You're
Maddie.
welcome.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so now the remainder of our time, we will use just answering any general questions that you might have. I see there are some. Jamie has been really great about answering them in the chat. If you have questions that have not been answered yet, please put them in the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask so that we can answer those. Someone asked, what if you already applied to the university, not Aggie Achieve? That is a totally separate application process than ours. So if you applied to Texas A&M, we have no control over that. If you wanted to apply for both Texas A&M and Aggie Achieve, you'd have to fill out both applications. Although I will say, if you can apply for Texas A&M, then apply for Texas A&M because that's where you can get a bachelor's degree. Remember, you do not get a degree with Aggie Achieve as a certificate program only. Stephanie asked, can we see what classes are open for Aggie Achieve? So that we went over briefly. We just gave a snapshot of classes. The actual list is probably about twice that size at this moment, but it's not too much longer than that. So we're constantly working on getting courses approved. So every semester it changes. So that's why we don't publish an exact list at this point. All right. trying to make sure we get all the questions answered.
Okay, so for
Tell me
the
if I skipped any,
applicant,
Mary.
Dr. Gilson, would it be easy if I asked the questions and you answered, or?
Yeah, because they're coming in fast. So
Okay.
I just want to make sure I'm not
Yeah, absolutely.
missing any.
Okay, so how many applicants did we have last year versus how many we accepted? We had about
We had about
80 full applicants.
Yeah, which is about what we expected. That was the same as the first year. So
We accepted 10,
imagine
right?
this year would be similar. Yeah,
We accepted 10.
imagine this year would be similar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you have already submitted your application, when will you hear if anything is missing or if any more info is needed? You should have heard something today. By the end of today, you should have an email in the applicant's email. Now, remember, I said application communication, all communication about admissions goes through the applicant. So make sure you're checking that the applicant is checking their email for that. But there should have been something that would have gone out today, actually, because that's what I did this morning. Okay. If you have applied for a FAFSA at the university, can this be noted in the Aggie Achieve application? Yes, there is a place for you to answer that. One of the things that we provide on our website is an application PDF, so you can look and see and fill it out before you jump in and actually go and fill it out, because it is quite a lengthy application. So for all the planners and those that like to get it kind of figured out ahead of time, I would definitely encourage you to go to the website and download that PDF and look and see what questions we're asking and what documentation we'll be asking for too. Does anybody else see any other questions or have any other questions? What happens if your IEP plan expires before you apply because you've moved to a private school? So with our paperwork, we understand schools are supposed to do it every year, and we've got your 3-year evaluation. Sometimes the timing, and if you're switching from public to private school, you might not have that. We are wanting paperwork that's dated within the past 5 years from the application start, the applicant start date. So nothing later than 2017. If your kid is a client of TWC, are there funds available that can be applied to this program? I love that question. The short answer is yes, but it's also, so the long answer is it's individualized, and each TWC counselor has to figure out how they're going to do it. We don't have a lot of students that are currently receiving TWC support, but we do have a handful. And for those that do, our families that are able to get that TWC support, we are really trying to work with those counselors to see how they're doing it, what they're doing, so we can get that really, so it's widespread more often and more TWC counselors are able to help with that. But it's hit or miss depending on who your counselor is.
And the other thing I want to add to that is we are working on developing a contract with TWC so that it wouldn't be so case by case, but that takes time. But the way that you can help is advocate. If you're interested in Aggie Achieve, talk to your counselor about it, because the more awareness, since we're still a pretty new program, and since these 4-year CTP programs are new in Texas, a lot of counselors are really not aware of them. So it's great if you can actually go and advocate on our behalf to make sure that they see just how employment focused we are. And the more advocacy we have and the more representation we have across the state, the more counselors we'll have who are recommending funding for Aggie Achieve.
Yes, yes. As Hannah asked, what should be included in their resume? Jamie had responded, their employment experience, if it's paid or unpaid volunteer work, if they're members of any organizations, that kind of stuff. Just kind of give us a little resume of who they are, what is their experience. If they have service work, yes, absolutely add that. What are their work experiences? And I saw a question about their son is interested in graphic design and video game design. Would Aggie Achieve be a good fit for him? Potentially, yes. We don't currently have any classes offered in that, but as we mentioned, our program is individualized for each student. So we would take that into consideration. And if we had a student that was interested in some of those courses, we would try to build a connection to get them in a class. We'll do our best, but so I feel like that's kind of a maybe. I want to tell you hard yes or no, but I think maybe is going to be the best thing I can give you for that answer.
The other cool thing, in addition to the classes that I'll add to that, is internships. So our job developer, Kelsey, is great at individualizing internship experiences based on vocations. So for example, right now we have a student who is very interested in art, and he is a very talented artist. And she reached out to the local university art gallery to get him a private tour and get him the experience of being an artist at the gallery. That's his ultimate goal. So that came about because we have a student who expressed that interest. And so even as we're thinking about what classes to turn to next, like somebody asked about healthcare in the chat, that's really our biggest motivator in prioritizing what classes get approved next, once we know our students and once we know that's where those interests are. So just because we don't have that set up right now, it doesn't mean it might not be in place a year from now. It looks like Jamie said that in the chat as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just another really cool employment story is we have another student who's interested in film, and he's TAing his internship this semester. He gets to TA for a film course. So when we say we individualize it, we use that person-centered planning. We really are going to the student saying, what are you wanting to do? What kind of job, career are you wanting to have? What kind of life are you wanting to live after college? And how can we help you get there, right? That's one of the coolest things about this program is that individualization on that level. We have not had any international students get accepted yet, but we have had an applicant in the past, I think. And international does not mean you're not eligible. We definitely welcome the international applicants.
Yes, we've had several international applicants.
Stacy,
so I saw Stacy asking, can we verify if our child's plan is what Achieve is looking for? I mean, we don't have the capacity to look at individual IEPs before submitting an application. We just, I mean, understandably with 80 applicants, what I recommend is after going through this, if your son or daughter has met the basic eligibility requirements, then go ahead and apply. We do try to give some level of feedback if a student does not make it to the admissions process or the acceptance. We might give feedback related to eligibility if a student is not accepted at that point, then we'll give reasons why. Sometimes we also might recommend like, hey, go get some more employment experience or go do this summer program that Texas A&M offers so that you can get more experience with independent living or get more experience with academics. We can't give a lot of detailed feedback just because of the number of applicants that we have, but you'll usually know why. And we do encourage people to reapply. A lot of people reapply and they usually have much better chances the following year if they kind of know what to expect. And yes, Texas A&M does offer a summer program for independent living. I will put it in the chat. There's a center called the Center on Disability and Development, and they offer several programs. The one I'm thinking of right now is the Waco Program, where students, high school students, as well as I think maybe students who just graduated from high school can go live on campus and get employment experience and independent living experience.
I want to throw in with the Waco program, because I was pretty slow on that take. That stands for Work and College Opportunities. It doesn't mean it's located in Waco, Texas.
Yes.
In case
yes,
you're like me,
yes.
and that's kind of where your brain went. The creators of that program were from Waco, and they thought that that was very clever. And it is. It's very clever. It was kind of confusing.
But confusing, yes. Good clarification. It is in College Station.
For those
Okay, I'm
that
gonna
are
put
still
this-
in high school, there's another program called LEAP, LEAP, that's offered through the Center on Disability and Development. Dr. Gilson just dropped that link in the chat. That's a really good opportunity. It's a 10-day summer program for students to come on campus and work on independent living skills and socialize and that kind of stuff. Are photos allowed to be included in their application? Yes. Yes. And there's a part of the application where we encourage a video or an essay. Well, we encourage the essay. We want the essay, but a lot of students will provide a video essay, and that is perfectly acceptable too.
Okay, any other questions? All right, well, we can stay on for just a couple extra minutes to see if anyone has more questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for attending today. Hope you got a lot of good information. And please follow us on social media and go to our website to get our newsletter for the most up-to-date information. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It's 5:39 a.m. in KL, so I'm not